I stumbled upon an incredible figure skater who would change my perspective on sports and artistry forever. Yuzuru Hanyu. For those of you who don't know, he is a Japanese figure skater, a two-time Olympic champion, and broke 19 world records. Around 4 years ago, what drew me in was more than just his skating. I was motivated by the empowering figure that had entered my life, who was coming to the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, his third and last Olympics. It was also in the Beijing Olympics where he was the first ever human being to attempt and execute the quad axel in a competition. Frequently known as the 4A, the quad axel is a jump that involves 4.5 revolutions in the air above the ice, and is known as the most difficult jump in the history of figure skating. It is a breakthrough in the human body, which makes it a beautiful form of art. And beyond all of Yuzuru's athletic achievements and fame is the artistry, the emotive and aesthetic qualities of his skating that is so captivating, and one of the main reasons he is admired by people from around the world. From choreography to the choice of music, every detail in his program is planned meticulously. These elements can all be a determining factor in whether a performance is labeled as good or bad, or more implicitly, we often judge performances by their aesthetic visual appeal. Now let's take a step back to explore the broader significance of what it means to be aesthetic. How does that encompass a wide array of artistic disciplines? When we hear the word art, what often comes into our mind first is visual art. Paintings like the Mona Lisa or works by Monet that have a recurring theme. However, art itself is a broad landscape, encompassing more than just what is on a canvas. Literature, performing arts, fashion, and much more fall under the umbrella of art. Then comes the question, what is aesthetics? At its core, aesthetics is the study of beauty and taste. In a work of art, for example, it is found according to an empirical study that the common person appreciates certain aesthetic qualities in visuals, such as symmetry, curved shapes, moderate complexity, and high foreground contrast. How about the term aesthetically driven? To be aesthetically driven means for individuals to be driven by beauty in all of its manifestations. Because of this, it is crucial for aesthetically driven individuals to surround themselves with beauty and incorporate it into their everyday existence. But the conception of what is aesthetically pleasing is constantly evolving. Aristotle thought symmetry was the universal standard of beauty, influencing generations of artists to conform to techniques like the golden ratio in their paintings. In the 19th century, Romantic poet John Keats argued that beauty was truth and realistic portrayal of subjects. The bottom line is, although the definition of beauty varies from person to person, there's often a trend that we can see in the people of our social groups or based on the environment that we are constantly immersed in. Art can appear in many tangible forms. However, art is not only a visual representation of athleticism, but it also encompasses a deeper nuance of how humans create connections or form bonds. This naturally leads us to consider the intersection of art with the humanities, and more precisely, language and literature. Just as a well-curated outfit can convey one's emotional and personal style, the words that we choose and the stories that we tell are imbued with artistic expression. Instinctively, we often categorize language and literature as academia rather than forms of art. This is because as core components of curriculum in a language course, they are typically taught to emphasize analysis, critical thinking, and theoretical frameworks. In schools, students are often tasked with interpreting texts and uncovering the underlying meaning, much like the methodologies employed in scientific or mathematical investigations. And a familiar example of this is the SAT, the standardized entrance exam that serves as a gateway to U.S. colleges. The exam includes a reading comprehension section that places emphasis on the academic nature of language arts and their importance in higher education admissions. However, the art of language extends far beyond the classroom. Something like the beauty of language lies in its ambiguity. Literature, as well as other forms of art, is structurally unfit with the concept of standardization. The power that literature brings lies not only in addressing and combating societal issues, but also prompts internal reflection. And an example of an author who has made this happen is Shi Tiesheng, one of the most prominent Chinese prose writers in the second half of the 20th century. Although he is a renowned author, he suffered from an unlucky past. He had congenital spine bifida, resulting in disability in both of his legs at the young age of 20. He made no secret of his disability, but instead integrated it into his works and conducted philosophical thinking on the eternal problems of human beings contained therein. One of his most notable works, The Temple of Earth and I, achieves this exact goal. In his work, Shi Tiesheng describes the Temple of Earth as a desolate and time-worn park not far away from his home in Beijing. He lived near it since birth and coincidentally moved closer and closer to the park without knowing that it existed. For this coincidence, Shi Tiesheng used the word destiny to explain this relationship with Temple of Earth, almost as if the Temple of Earth had been waiting for him all along. He says in one part of the passage, 15 years ago, on an afternoon, I entered the Temple of Earth in my wheelchair, which had prepared a person everything who was lost and disoriented. Even though the Temple of Earth was not a person or human living being, Shi Tiesheng could resonate deeply with it, as they were both marginalized in a sense. He came to embrace the tranquility of the Temple of Earth, using it as an escape from his dissatisfaction with life, leading him to reflect on his relationship with his mother, question ethics, and find the hope to live his life to the fullest. And he indeed has, through writing. The Temple of Earth acted as his refuge and has been a recurring motif in many of his works. Notice here, by combining the ideas of traditional Chinese philosophy and existential philosophy to write about fate and self-transcendence, Shi Tiesheng uses the art of language to write his profound life experience in the form of essays and prose. I would love to go deeper into the philosophy that he explores, but that would be another TED Talk altogether. My point is, literature as a form of art can allow us to unleash our intrusive thoughts, urging us to confront our own experiences and consider what it truly means to live, as exemplified by Shi Tiesheng in his works. Art opens the door to opportunities that are not hindered by congenital defects, but can instead be illuminated by them. The idea of art as a gateway extends beyond literature. It resonates throughout the broader realm of artistic expression. Art, in its many forms, is interdisciplinary in nature. It helps us decode human behavior and understand our existence. Growing up in Shanxi, China, my parents often took me to museums and excavation sites. Shanxi is famous for its rich history and the vast number of artifacts that it holds. You can even see an old temple from the Song Dynasty in the middle of the road in Dafan City, well preserved and standing, like any of the other modern buildings. Most recently, I visited the Taiyuan Northern Qi Dynasty Middle Museum this summer. And although the Northern Qi Dynasty, dating back to over 1,400 years ago, only lasted for 28 years, it left behind a large amount of cultural heritage in Chinese history due to the fusion of Hu style and Han customs. Hu is the ancient Chinese name for ethnic groups in the northern border areas and the western regions, while Han is the majority ethnicity in China and persists till this day. The two mural art that I saw featured characters and objects of various types, from masters to followers, from horses to ox carts, together forming a complete ceremonial picture of the homes and travels of northern Qi nobles. Each piece that I encountered was like a window to the past, offering glimpses of traditional ways of living that shaped the lives of my ancestors. And it wasn't just art that I saw. It was a narrative that revealed historical behaviors and practices. There was a time when I believed the past was distant, almost unreachable. But I began to realize that these exhibits weren't really relics. They were the bridges connecting the past to the present. And every time I visited an exhibition like this, I walked away with something new. Through visual narratives, not only did I develop deep appreciation for my cultural roots, but also discovered how our histories are interwoven with our current identities. As I explored the connections between past and present through art, I reached a broader conclusion about the nature of artistic expression. Specifically, there exists a balance between subjectivity and objectivity when considering the full breadth of art. Art, on one hand, has its personalized nature. It is fluid, but at the same time, it can have a rigid structure. Take literature, for instance. On one hand, objective elements are syntax, grammar, literary devices, historical context, etc. These establish an outline framework that should anchor text into reality, or one that is more fact-based. Yet, on the other hand, literature is profoundly subjective. Each reader brings to the words on the page their own interpretation, emotional resonance, and personal fulfillment. As Shakespeare once wrote, there are 1,000 Hamlets in 1,000 people's lives. A piece of text can be dictated by the combination of the intention of the author who wrote the text and the reader's mode of thinking. Similarly, in the performing arts, we can draw a parallel. The objective elements are the technical performance, the mastery of the craft, production details, etc. These are the foundations upon which a performance rests. But still, the personal response of an audience individualize it and make it a common experience that is not anything but beautiful. Among all the arts, it is scientifically proven that music has the least boundaries on our imagination. Unlike the visual arts, which rely on images to dictate our perception, music invites us into ambiguity. Hearing, for its part, is far vaguer in the human sense than vision. Sounds can evoke wider imaginings, stirring deep emotions. For those of you in the audience who also play an instrument like me, or just purely love listening to music, you may know this feeling very well. So to create what is widely suggested as a masterpiece, art must take the objective and subjective elements together as a whole to build on that complexity. And to understand this better, let me return to the example I introduced at the beginning of Yuzuru Hanyu and figure skating. According to the International Skating Union, the skating programs are scored based on 3 main components: composition, presentation, and skating skills. Judges evaluate each component against a set of specific criteria. For instance, in skating skills, the edge clarity, speed, and balance can be easily detected through machines with a high degree of objectivity. Spins, jump, and footwork are among the many elements that are assigned a specific point value based on their difficulty and successful execution. On the subjective side, however, the composition is judged based on choreography and music, and the presentation is judged by how the skater expresses themselves. However, both judgments are built upon the skater's technical skills, as a poorly executed performance with many falls would most likely not result in what you would call an aesthetically pleasing performance. This illustrates how mastery in art transcends mere technical ability, reflecting a deeper emotional connection. In a bustling world that is chaotic and overwhelming to many, the arts is where we can find solace. Art invites us to slow down and take a deep breath, to look into our soul and to question who we are and who we want to become. When we talk about art, of course I'll have to mention creativity. Creativity is the pulse driving innovation, the heart of problem solving, and a way of personal expression. And although we often align art with people who are soft-spoken and introspective, we often forget that art can also be exclamative. In fact, fact, both courage and vulnerability are essential ingredients for many successful breakthroughs in art. Art is the universal connector. Amidst such technological advancement, one must not forget to instill into their lives a degree of humanness and meaning. Art allows us to envision a future that is not just about code and algorithms, but about empathy, creativity, and understanding. I urge each of you to explore your local histories and culture, be more observant of the world around you, and engage with the stories that resonate with you. Trust me, they can yield some unexpected outcomes. Let me invite each and one of you, whether you're in the realm of social sciences, technology, education, or if you're still a student who's still finding your passion, to foster and protect creativeness. Let us hold a view of that reality as we continue to push forward into a futuristic world where art can take us through things we never thought we would. Let us use art to make a legacy of meaning and connection. That's all for today. Thank you.